I'm Rolene Marks. I hope you have your coffee or your tea or even your cocktail and you are ready for our date that we have every Monday to Thursday right here at the Israel Brief, brought to you by these guys, Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines. Now, just a reminder, tomorrow there will be no Israel Brief. It is the Jewish festival of Shavuot. More about Shavuot a little later. So we will resume on Thursday, but in the meantime, if you want to send me those audience questions, because people are really loving the slot, so get those questions coming in and I will do my best to answer them. I also just want to remind you that if you would like to subscribe to Lay of the Land's weekly newsletter, you can via our website or via our email address, which is layotl@gmail.com. That's layotl, or let me start that again. That's layotland@gmail.com. layotland@gmail.com. Listen, it's about 3 billion degrees here and about 7 trillion% humidity, so my brain is a little frazzled. Let's take a look at those top stories. We are on day 249 of Israel's war with Hamas. We don't forget for a second that we also have 120 hostages still held captive by Hamas, and that this was started by Hamas on the 7th of October when they violated the ceasefire agreement that was put in place in 2021 and committed acts of atrocities against Israelis, including mass rape, burning people alive, mutilation, torture, murder, and kidnapping. So let's take a look at latest developments. And the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel yesterday. He has been visiting a number of Middle Eastern states, talking about support for a ceasefire, but also, very interestingly enough, meeting with the Saudis. Again, the work on advancing normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia is still ongoing. The Secretary of State met with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu last night and has said that the Prime Minister reaffirmed his commitment or his acceptance of the ceasefire agreement put forward by President Biden several weeks ago. Now, yesterday, the United Nations Security Council voted in favor of the ceasefire. Israel has not commented on the vote, and we do have some murmurings coming in from Hamas officials saying that Hamas will accept the agreement and are ready for negotiations. However, as hopeful as the US Secretary of State is, let's just adopt a wait-and-see approach, which I think is always the approach that we need when dealing with an internationally prescribed terrorist organization like Hamas. The IDF said earlier today that 50 rockets had been fired towards the north of Israel, including the city of Haifa. Firefighters are busy battling blazes that have resulted due to the incoming rocket attacks. Now, last night, the IAF said that an estimated 19,000, just let that number sink in, 19,000 unguided missiles had been fired into Israel, mostly from the Gaza Strip, since the 7th of October, and an increasing number of projectiles, rockets, mortars, etc. being fired from Lebanon as well. 150 drones have also been fired towards Israeli sovereign territory. Now, this, of course, is a war crime that nobody seems to be wanting to talk about. In fact, there is the most bizarre op-ed in today's Washington Post with the headlines that while the Iron Dome might save lives, both Palestinian and Israelis, it is not contributing to any peaceful resolution. I don't know, what do you want from us, guys? Do you want us to do away with the incredible Iron Dome, air defense system so that more of us can be killed. I don't know. This is not a zero-sum game here. What we see is two very different but very clear strategies. Israel will do everything to protect our civilians while mitigating as many civilian casualties with the Palestinians as humanly possible, while Hamas know that their strategy to ensure as many civilian deaths in the Gaza Strip as possible only helps to grow international opprobrium against Israel and further isolate Israel. In fact, there is an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that quotes Sinwar as communicating with his fellow Palestinian or Hamas officials saying that we have the Israelis where we want them. So guys, you are much smarter than the average person out there. Don't buy into the Hamas propaganda strategy. Check out the facts for yourself. And we here at the Israel Brief promise to help you do exactly that. A short while ago, the United Nations Human Rights Office said that both Hamas and Israel could be guilty of war crimes following the dramatic rescue of 4 Israeli hostages on Saturday. Now, I don't know about you, but the last time I looked, civilians did not hold hostages, especially civilian doctors and journalists, and civilians certainly did not mull around the neighborhood carrying RPGs and using high caliber weapons. However, the United Nations have lamented the amount of civilians that are purported to have been killed during Israel's dramatic rescue. So the IDF have said that their numbers they have is less than 100 casualties. How many are Hamas and how many are civilians? That number or that division is not yet known, while Hamas and the Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry gave that number 274. Now, we always remember that not only have these accusations against Israel being debunked again and again and again, but that the Associated Press, as well as think tanks, and as well as the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, halved the amount of casualty numbers for women and children. And we know this also because Hamas does not distinguish between combatant and civilians. And finally, before I get to the audience question of the day, tonight we'll see the start of the Jewish festival of Shavuot, or as many of you know as the Feast of Weeks. Now in Israel we celebrate for one day, but in the diaspora it is for 2 days, and this has something to do with not knowing when the sun would set and you could see the moon, so the timing was a little off. So to just take care of respecting the sanctity of the day, diaspora communities celebrate 2 days. However, long before there was Hamas and war and everything, there were Jews accepting the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, or the Tanakh, at Mount Sinai. These are the holy books by which we live our lives, the first 5 books of the Bible, what Jews believe in. And many will go to synagogue and eat a lot of dairy products, and also stay up all night studying and reading from the book of Ruth. Now, somebody asked me, why do Jews eat so much dairy on Shavuot? Hey, we Jews, we eat a lot whenever the opportunity presents itself. But the most popular belief is that Jews eat a lot of dairy products because when we received the Torah at Mount Sinai, we were pure. We were almost like babies who subsist on dairy. And also because, hey, any excuse for a good cheesecake or a good cheese blintz. So that is Shavuot, a very, very festive day in the Jewish calendar. Right, now for what is fast becoming the favorite segment of the Israel Brief, and that is the audience question of the day. So today's question comes from somebody who prefers to remain anonymous, and we don't mind if you do, asking about the condition of the hostages that were released or rather rescued. Let's make that clear distinction. Rescued, not released. Stop it, Radine, you naughty, naughty girl. That were rescued by our elite forces on Saturday. They seemed to look in good condition. Well, according to the doctors, this is Dr. Schaffer at Sheba Medical Center, who has been treating them. He says that they have suffered severe abuse, both psychologically and physically, that they're suffering from malnutrition and muscle wastage as a result of not getting enough protein in the diet or enough sun. And this affects the other systems in the bodies as well. So a long way to go for rehabilitation, and also a lot of psychological damage. They were moved from house to house. Noah, we know, was forced to clean homes. In fact, when the soldiers and the Yamam police elite unit came to rescue her on Saturday, she thought initially the knock on the door meant that she was being called to clean the apartment, and their rehab will take some time. So we could see in the images that although they were smiling and happy to have been rescued, that they were very, very, very pale, very thin, and you could see during the very dramatic footage that was released by Israel police yesterday, you could see just how scared they were when those Yamam forces came through. Can we just take a minute to salute Yamam and the IDF and the ISA and all concerned, the best of the absolute best. So a short while ago, all 4 were released from hospital and into the loving care of their families. And that's where we leave it today, guys. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, layoftheland.online, our YouTube channel right here at the Israel Brief. Hit that subscribe button and help grow our community. We are on Facebook at Lottel's site, on X at Lay of the Land 5. And I promise to have a gigantic slice of cheesecake for all of you. Guys, take care of yourselves and each other. I will miss you tomorrow, but I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. God bless. Bye for now.